Ohio's Ed Johnson, raised on a farm in Fairfield County, devoted his life to agriculture as farmer, teacher, promoter, businessman, and communicator. Ed had that well-known smile even as a kid. He's on the bottom of this pile with his sister, 2 brothers, and a playmate. He loved horses. Here's Ed on Napoleon at age 4. Joining 4-H at 10, he raised steers and had a herd of 30 Herefords when he entered Ohio State. Ed's parents, Jim and Della, bought a 236-acre farm and moved to Lancaster County when Ed was in 5th grade. Ed's FFA projects included dairy, sheep, and grain. He was inducted into his high school Hall of Fame. During those 4 years, he played guard on Lancaster's basketball team, was president of his FFA chapter, on the student council, and president of his senior class. Ed was elected state FFA president as a write-in in his junior year. He served as Ohio's FFA secretary the following year, according to his advisor, Paul Meckling, here with Ed years later at the Farm Science Review. Ed majored in ag education and economics at Ohio State and made the OSU basketball team as a walk-on. He played in the very first game in the then-new St. John's Arena. Graduation was followed by 2 years in the Navy and his marriage to Marilyn Solt in 1959. They knew each other as children and fellow 4-H'ers, junior leaders, and 4-H camp counselors, but didn't date until well into college. Marilyn taught at Great Lakes while Ed apparently spent his Navy service time playing and coaching. Ed's teams won the Commander's Cup in 3 sports: basketball, flag football, and volleyball. Back from the Navy, Ed was vocational agriculture teacher at Gettysburg, Ohio, and Marilyn taught at Franklin Monroe. After a year, Farm Bureau offered Ed the job as organizational director for 3 counties, including his home county of Fairfield County. He and Marilyn moved again with baby daughter Julie. As part of the new job, Ed aired 15-minute weekly Farm Bureau programs on both radio stations in Chillicothe, Ohio. Marilyn says that's where he got the radio bug. His first full-time radio job came in 1965 at WHOK Lancaster, where he was farm broadcaster, disc jockey, salesman, and did sports. Bart was born in 1966. Shortly after, Ed became co-manager of WNRE-FM Circleville, where he voiced farm programs and play-by-play sports. When Bart and Julie grew up, Bart became vice president of Agri-Communications Incorporated, head of the satellite division, cameraman, company pilot, farmer, and Ed's golf partner. When Julie left for Texas to get her doctorate in pharmacology, the family posed with their future medical researcher and university professor. WRFD Columbus hired Ed in 1967 as farm director and sports director on sister station WNCI. This was his opportunity to do play-by-play of Ohio State football games, including the 1971 Rose Bowl game. That was also the year Ed became the official announcer for the National Tractor Pullers Association, a job he held for 20 years. 1972 found the Johnson family moving to the farm in southern Delaware County. That same year, as WRFD cut back farm programs, Ed started thinking about creating a network of local stations to serve farmers. Marilyn took a full-time teaching job, and they formed Agri-Communications Incorporated. Ed spent 1973 selling his ABN Agri-Broadcasting Network. By 1974, he was on the air with 21 stations. That number grew over the years to a peak of 75 affiliates in Ohio, West Virginia, and Indiana. Satellite uplinks appeared on the Johnson farm, where Ed did both his chores and the morning programs. ABN also had studios in Columbus.
Agri-Country coming your way now from our ABN radio and TV studios here in Columbus.
Ed Johnson launched his weekly television program Agri-Country in 1982, eventually carried on 11 stations in urban areas.
Thank you so much for joining us for Farm to Table, where we want to share with you a little bit about what Ohio's #1 industry is all about, and that's agriculture.
Viewers remembered funny things that happened on the show, The girl who showed the champion market hog at the Ohio State Fair surprised Ed when he asked her,
How did you happen to name him Dwight Yoakam?
Because he has a big butt.
Or the time Ed featured a renovated old house he'd lived in as a little boy. He demonstrated how he used to slide down the banister. In 1992, Ed launched a monthly farm magazine, Ohio's Country Journal. As publisher, he hired Tim Reeves as editor. Tim remembers Ed inviting him to the Johnson family's church, where Ed was lay leader and Sunday school teacher. He taught Sunday school 35 years. The agri-communications staff grew to 30, but best known were Ed's co-hosts on radio and TV, Luann Parcell and Dale Mignot. He relished time with his family and his 7 grandchildren. NAFB was dear to Ed. He was an accomplished debater in business meetings. In the early 1980s, he launched the NAFB Voice Newsline, precursor to today's NFBS. Upon being elected regional vice president, the Johnsons hosted the 1996 regional meeting. Ed Johnson found time to be a bank director and president of the Ohio 4-H Foundation. He served on FFA's sponsoring board of directors as well as several OSU organizations and boards, and was MC or Grand Marshal at hundreds of festivals and parades. The list of Ed's honors on both the national and state level is long. They include United Soybean Board Meritorious Service Award, induction into the Ohio Agricultural Hall of Fame by Governor Voinovich with his family present. OSU President Kerwin presented Ed with the Ohio State University Distinguished Service Award in 2000. He and Marilyn were guests in the president's box at this Buckeye game. Luann Parcells reported his 1998 Farm Service Review induction.
Ed Johnson was inducted into the Hall of Fame not only for his enthusiastic support, but for broadcasting from this event for 30 straight years, never missing a day of the review.
After Ed's death in February 2001, the Farm Science Review was dedicated to his memory. Now, we honor Ed Johnson's lifetime of achievement in the NAFB Hall of Fame.